across the United States, but in red states specifically, the majority of farmers in this country overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump for president in 2024. And now those same people who supported this guy wholeheartedly are preparing to be absolutely decimated by his policies, which for the record they hate, but they should have seen coming. As I've repeatedly said, and apparently have to keep repeating it, Donald Trump was honest about very few things during his campaign, but one of the things he was honest and clear about was his desire to launch a massive trade war. He said during the campaign, 25% tariffs on everybody. That was clear. We knew he was going to do that. Economists warned it was going to hurt us. Report after report told us farmers specifically are going to be the hardest hit. Yet, in spite of all the warnings, in spite of Donald Trump's very rare honesty, they voted for him anyway. And now, according to a report in The Atlantic, they are terrified because they understand they are about to be wiped out by the very policies of the very man that they supported in spite of those policies. They're getting what they voted for. And I'm not saying they deserve it, because when the farms shut down, that impacts each and every one of us. There is no other way around that. When farms begin shutting down in the United States because they go bankrupt due to Donald Trump's policies, which for the record, we saw a record number of happen during his first administration. Let's not forget the USDA, ahead of the 2018 midterms and the 2020 election, started sending out checks to these farmers impacted by Trump's trade war to try to bribe them to vote for him again. And they did. And they still went bankrupt. So they lived through it once. They saw how horrible it was, but they said, you know what? Let's do another round of it, right? So again, I don't want to have sympathy for these folks because you already went through it and it was hell, and you admitted it was hell, but you voted for hell again. But at the same time, they're not the only ones impacted. This does impact all of us. So here's what's happening. You have these other countries, specifically China, that imports a lot of food from the United States. So these farmers across the country, they're not just growing food for us here in the United States. It gets shipped all over the world. And China is one of the biggest purchasers of that food. But because China has put a 125% reciprocal tariff on the United States to counter our 145% tariff on their goods, that means that these farmers are not able to send their goods over there because the companies in China don't want to pay those prices. So the food sits here and rots, and farmers lose a lot of money really quickly. Meanwhile, where's China getting their food from, right? I mean, they can't just starve to death. Well, the answer is they're not. Because China was buying food from the United States, I guess because it was probably the best deal for them, but now that it's not, they're simply going to other countries. Brazil, for example, is a country where now China says, okay, we're not going to buy soybeans from U.S. farmers. We'll just go to Brazil. It's cheaper that way now. So we're going to Brazil and we're buying up their soybeans. Beef. Beef was a huge import for China from the U.S. It was announced this past week that China said, okay, well, now it's too expensive to get U.S. beef. We're just going to work out contracts with Australia. It's a little bit closer anyway. Why not do it? So China, unlike the United States, is already working with these other countries saying, okay, well, we can't get our goods from here anymore. Can you give us this? Yes, we can. Can you give us that? Yes, we can. Meanwhile, the United States has no substitutes for the products we're getting from China, so we're just getting screwed all around. But nobody at the moment is getting screwed over worse than the farmers. And that is important. Because if these farmers start going under, what happens? They lose their land, they lose their jobs, they lose their livelihoods, farms that have been the family for 5-6 generations. And when that happens, food in the United States does become more scarce. Scarcity causes price increases. Price increases cause cutbacks for families. This impacts us, not just the farmers. The other countries, they've already made arrangements. They're going to be fine. It's us that will continue to suffer under Donald Trump's policies. And it doesn't matter if you voted against him or if you voted for him. We're all getting screwed. Thanks for watching today, everybody. And don't forget, if you're not already, please do subscribe to this channel. We have fresh content going up every single day, and I would really hate for you to miss out on that. And speaking of missing out, if you're not following me across all other social media outlets, then get on it. You can follow the links in the description of this video.